Hey everybody, Jake here. Today I'm going to be answering all your questions that you left for me on my last video. Now before I answer all of your questions, I'm gonna need you guys to like this video and subscribe for more horror content. I got a lot of big things planned for this year that I'm so excited about, including that Scream fan film that I know a lot of you got some questions about. So subscribe now because this is a year that you don't want to miss. Gotta pull out my... that was horrible. Ooh, gotta pull out my reading glasses for this one. Let's see if I can get them on my face. There we go. Trenton Hawkins Mitchell asks, if I were directing Scream 5, what would it look like? I think I would get way too into directing a film for an actual established horror franchise like that. And honestly, I'd probably overthink it. How I would do it though is make it more of a modern take and not do everything exactly the same as the other 4 movies. The big thing that I feel like you could change pretty easily without upsetting too many fans is your mystery elements. You kind of have the same formula for all 4 of the Scream films, so why not change it up a little bit? Like maybe the killer gets away at the end. I would have something really significant and different about my Scream film. The Pixelated Pumpkin asks, how many friends, I mean horror movies, do you have? 0 friends. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, I have 2,500 friends on my YouTube channel. It's all of you guys. Seriously though, thanks for 2.5k. We are killing it this month. But oh my god, the Pixelated Pumpkin, I got really anal with this question because I didn't even know how many horror movies I had. I went through my list and I have almost 200, 186 films to be exact. And I started my collection like a year and a half ago. It's one of the many reasons I cry every time I see my bank accounts. But one day I would love to do a video just talking about my collection, talking about some of my favorite horror movies. I'll have to do that eventually, maybe when I get some free time. It'll come eventually though. Marcio Pereira, I'm really bad at pronouncing things, sorry, asks, will you show some sneak peeks for the short film that you're working on? Oh hell yes. Just like all the movies I cover on this channel, I'm gonna be posting little updates on it all the time. Like I'll release some set photos in a couple of months and then we'll have like a teaser trailer maybe like in May or something, and then I'll probably release it in July. If everything stays according to schedule, which it never does. Christopher Touch asks, what do you think the age rating of Willys Wonderland will be? I mean, I hope it's R-rated because I just want to see a whole bunch of blood and guts and all that, but considering that there's probably a pretty big interest in like teenagers for this film because of FNAF or Five Nights at Freddy's, I don't know if the cool kids call it FNAF or not. They might make it PG-13, or they might not be able to make it PG-13 is kind of my hopes, because I want this thing to be bloody and disgusting, man. But I can see it going either way. Vedrum Dibia asks, do you have encountered any heavy splash of blood from a dead person? What? What? JNN Productions asks, when will the fan film come out and when can we expect a trailer of some sort? Like I said, I think it's coming out sometime in like July or like midsummer. I'd want to have a teaser trailer out in like maybe like late May or June sometime to really just start building some hype over like the month between when I release it and when the teaser trailer comes out. I don't know, I've never made a movie before. We're playing this all by ear. I'm trying to figure it out. Right now though, my release date is sometime in July. I don't have an exact day obviously, but like I said, that could change at any moment. I really hope not. I would love to get this thing out by summertime, but with COVID and how many people are working on this, anything can happen, and unfortunately some of those things that can happen are negative. Oh, and another thing, it also depends on how many Patreon supporters I get until then. So please support me on Patreon. I don't want this thing to look like shit, and I don't want to have to cut corners. I want this thing to look as good as the movie. And I realize that might be a little ambitious, but I think I can do it. Rulixar asks, what is your favorite horror slash slasher remake? There's so many good remakes, like it's hard to just pinpoint one, but typically when I watch a remake, I have like 0 interest in it unless it does something different. If you're just trying to make the same movie with like the same things happening, but it's like modern age, you like add in cell phones this time around, and then you just have a cast of characters that is like people who are semi-famous. I have no interest in remakes like that. I don't even want to waste my time with them. The 2013 Carrie remake is like a prime example of that. It's the same exact plot, almost the exact same things happen, you just added cell phones and like a new hot cast. That sounded really gross to say hot. I mean popular. Like popular, famous people. But I think my favorite modern horror remake is probably the Evil Dead remake. I mean, as a standalone film, that's a really good movie. It really captures the tone of the original Evil Dead while still being its own thing. And that is like the perfect remake in my mind. That new Wrong Turn is also up there, like great remake, captures that same tone from the original, but completely different. That's my favorite horror remake, at least, slasher remake. I mean, There's not that many good ones, honestly. Maybe the Friday the 13th remake? If we're talking like modern remakes and stuff, yeah, that's probably my favorite, but that doesn't mean it's that good of a movie. Mike Silva asks, have you seen the original Last House on the Left? Yeah, I've seen the original and I've seen the remake. I don't know, I'm not really like that big a fan of those kind of movies. Like same thing with I Spit on Your Grave and like The Hills Have Eyes. They're all just very similar movies to me. There's like a horrible rape scene and then the rest of the movie is like just revenge killing or people just getting murked. That's kind of where I draw the line with horror movies. Like I can watch Hereditary all day where a girl's head gets cut off, but I see a scene like that and I'm just like completely turned off by it. I get absolutely no like entertainment value out of watching a scene like that. Steven asks, what's the budget for the fan film? A real artist wouldn't need money. Listen, buddy, a real artist would make a crappy thing in his basement where it's just a dude in a Ghostface mask running around. That's not what this is gonna be. This is going to be a very elaborate scene from like a lost Scream film is kind of what I'm thinking for it. And I'm gonna need about like maybe $2,000. It's gonna be pricey. But with everything I have set up, this is gonna be so worth it and so cool. And I don't really care about making money off of it or anything like that. I'm kind of just doing this as a passion project. I've always wanted to make a short film and like especially about a franchise that I love so much. So this just seemed so fitting. What better time than now, am I right? Brian Johnson asks, for Scream 2022, do you think this movie will be the best one yet? Also, how do you feel the cast holds up against the last 4 films? I'm not gonna lie, I think Scream 5 is easily going to be the best sequel out of all the sequels. 2, 3, and 4 all have problems in my opinion. The first Scream film is like the only one that's like really just like a 10 out of 10 horror film. The rest of them are just not as good as the original. And it's all because of like little tiny mistakes that they could have fixed. But if you can tone down that meta humor to like just a little bit, like sprinkle it in here and there, and then have a really good mystery again, arguably kind of like the first one. I know I criticized the mystery in the first movie, but it's way better than the second film. And I think the biggest problem that the Scream franchise had is that it didn't really have new eyes on it. And this is a totally fresh take from up-and-coming directors. Honestly, that's what this series needs very desperately, so I think this is probably gonna be my favorite sequel out of all of them, just based off of the few things we've heard. And talking about the cast, I mean all of the Scream films have a great cast. For me at least, it would be impossible to rank the Scream films by their cast. I already know Jenna Ortega from The Babysitter 2, and then of course Jack Quaid from The Boys. I've been really considering doing a Boys Season 3 video because man, I freaking love that show. Maybe one day I'll do a video about it, who knows? Bankroll Reese asks, would you rather the killer in Scream 5 be Stu's brother or Stu himself? I mean, is neither an option? Look, I love Stu and Randy, but they're probably dead. I feel like you could write something as to where Randy could come back, but Stu is just very much so dead. I'm pretty sure Billy and Stu are the only killers that are talked about throughout the entire franchise as being dead or like the original Ghostface killers. It would be a stretch to bring back Stu. Unless you retconned the sequels, then totally different story. But to what we know so far about the new Scream film, I don't think they're doing that. Although, I think it would be pretty cool to do that. Not that I dislike the sequels or anything, but to have like a fresh start like that, that's a blank canvas that you can do a whole lot with. So if they have to come up with some kind of convoluted way to keep the sequels canon, but then somehow Stu comes back, I don't know, I'm just not a fan of that. But if they retcon the sequels, okay, well let's see it happen. Ruben Ellis asks, what day will the Scream fan film come out? Like I said, man, I don't know. I can't give an exact day right now. Making a movie is way more difficult than I ever would have imagined. I thought I had like all the equipment for it and I just was like, oh, I just need to buy a Ghostface costume. This is gonna be easy. It's not easy at all. Trying to find actors and a camera crew and like people to work behind the scenes and stuff, and also just raising the money to do it in the first place. Wow, I mean, it's a busy time for me. I can't guarantee you one thing, it will come out this year. For sure. Like I'm not pushing this thing all the way to 2022. But as of right now, which like I said will probably change July of this year. Brittany asks, why do you like Hellraiser 2 over Hellraiser 1? Hellraiser 2 is such an unbelievably underrated sequel, and it just seems like people hate the Hellraiser sequels so much. 1 through 3 are fantastic, like across the line, love all of them. After that, like 4 is just an absolute mess and the rest of them don't even make sense. But like 2 is basically just Hellraiser 1 but with more crazy imagery and cooler kills. That's the big draw to this series for me at least. I love seeing the disgusting kills and the gore, the chains ripping people apart, but then on top of that we also get to see the labyrinth, which that whole third act takes place there and it is so cool looking. We only get to see like one scene in the original Hellraiser there, which is a great scene, don't get me wrong, but like having the whole final act there just makes so much more sense. I also love horror movies with trippy visuals. I'm a sucker for them. I'm sure one day I'll do a versus video on these, so I don't want to get too into it, but yeah, Hellraiser 2 over the original Hellraiser all day. They're both good movies. I love both of them, but like the second one's a 10 out of 10, the first one's a 9 out of 10. Robert Cliff asks, will you be able to mention Scream characters in your film? Well, no. I'm pretty sure like all of the Scream characters and just to say Ghostface is copywritten. I mean, I do it in my videos all the time, so like I don't think anyone's gonna actually come after me and sue me if I was to be like, hey, Sidney Prescott's in this movie. But I'm gonna play it safe and just not do any of that. I wasn't gonna do a fan film where I casted people to play Sidney Prescott or like Dewey Riley like I already said. I just feel like that would be silly. Like who else can play those characters besides Neve Campbell and David Arquette? Nobody. Like you could never remake Scream. No way. The casting is just too perfect. Logan Spence asks, will there be a Willy's Wonderland sequel? Honestly, that seems like a question for Geo Parsons. I don't know, I mean, if I had to guess, probably not, just because this isn't the most popular film. I mean, I haven't seen it yet. I think it's gonna be badass. I don't know yet, though. I'm definitely anticipating this movie to be like a really cheesy B-movie, but that's a good thing. But like a so bad it's good kind of cheesy B-movie, which I'm all about. If there's room for that and this film makes a lot of money, I mean, anything can happen, dude. I mean, if a movie like 47 Meters Down can get a sequel, then this film definitely deserves one. Dark Fiend X asks, what are your top 5 disliked horror films? Well, like I was saying earlier, I really don't like anything with like a rape scene in it. Not a fan of that. I'll tell you some classic horror movies I dislike, like literally that whole list I said before, The Hills Have Eyes, Last House on the Left, I Spit on Your Grave. I don't like those movies at all, really. There's also some rough Nightmare on Elm Street sequels that are like, man, I can barely get through some of these. I really like Freddy's Dead though, for some reason. Like I can watch that movie like every day. I think that movie just like pushed it so much to the point where it's like, it's so ridiculous that I love watching it. But like the other ones, it feels like they're timid almost. It's like we want to lean into this craziness, but not so much. Like A Nightmare on Elm Street 5 is probably the best example of that. It's like, it's almost there to the point where it's like, it's so silly and ridiculous, it's just a so bad it's good B movie, but it's not quite there and it just ends up being bad. Also, the second one has elements of that too, which makes this franchise really unbelievably weird. It almost feels like the third movie is the sequel, you know what I mean? Like the second one doesn't even feel like it fits in this like universe. Shazette Malik asks, will KillJoy Jake cast himself as Ghostface? Well, first of all, happy birthday, Shazeb. That's a very close friend of mine. Boy doesn't know he's getting a surprise party tonight. But like, bruh, I can't say something like that this early. I will say this though about the film. There's going to be 4 main characters, and I am going to be playing one of them. So I mean, I guess I have a 25% chance of being Ghostface in this movie, but who knows? You'll just have to see what happens. And then last but not least, Dalton DeLauder asks, who's your killer predictions for Scream 5? I mean, it's definitely way too early to have like an exact, like, yeah, it's definitely gonna be him. But I think it's gotta be one of like the sweet characters. Like maybe one of these actors that is just like known for their like sweet roles, like Jack Quaid or Jenna Ortega. And what I mean by that is that they're typically like the heroes in the movies and TV shows that they're in. And since they seem to be prominent main characters, I could definitely see one of them being Ghostface. Because right now we got all this suspicion that Kyle Gallner could be Ghostface, but that might just be a red herring. Although let me tell you, the guy looks a lot like Billy Loomis. And we already have like some confirmation that there's gonna be a bunch of flashbacks in this film. So they're setting up something, some kind of connection to the original film. I don't know what yet, but man, if I had a prediction, it's that Kyle Gallner's character is Billy's long lost son. And maybe that's true, but I don't know if that makes him the killer or not. Maybe he's the hero and kind of redeems his bloodline. I don't know, man. Like I said, it's too early to call. I'm excited to actually get like a teaser trailer or like a poster so that we have some more clues. Like if you remember from Scream 4's poster, there's a huge clue on who the killer is in that poster. You can actually see Jill with a phone, and like everyone else is kind of like looking one way, Jill's looking to the left or something with a phone. So like, yeah, there you go. There's your hint that she's the killer. So maybe we'll get something like that in the official Scream 5 poster. Oh god, I'm really hoping for a teaser trailer in maybe like March or April. That would be so cool. We all need something to get through the rest of this pandemic, man. Who knows when this thing is gonna end. And real quickly, I'm gonna do some rapid fire questions from Dark Moon Builds. What is your all-time favorite horror film? I think Hereditary, maybe Insidious, one or the other. What is your favorite color? Green. Where are you from? I'm not gonna give you my exact location because that's kind of creepy, but I will tell you I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. When is your birthday? September 24th. What age are you? 22 going on 23 in September. And do you have any plans in the future for your channel and your subscribers if your channel keeps growing as fast as it is now? Stutter. I'll say this, I'm very thankful that my channel is growing so fast. I mean, mean, I'm getting like 20 subscribers every other day. I'm so unbelievably lucky for all that, and I just want to thank all of the new people who are coming to this channel. Do I have a whole bunch of crazy plans? Hell yeah! This is not going to be the only short film I do. Like, I want to do short films on all the different kinds of movies I'm covering. Like, who knows, maybe I do a Terrifier short film one day. But that's going to be a lot more expensive than a Scream fan film, because I'm going to need a whole bunch of like FX artists and stuff. And maybe I'll even do my own things, you know? I have ideas for horror movies that I would love to do one day. Maybe I'll actually write, direct, and like star in my own 90-minute movie. If I can get to that point, that would be awesome. I also have a whole bunch of series ideas that I want to start, and maybe one of them will take off. Who knows? I hope you all stick around for it though, because I got a whole bunch of crazy stuff in mind. So thank you guys so much for watching my Q&A video. I hope I answered your questions the best that I possibly could. If you have any more questions for me, support me on Patreon. Then you can just direct message me questions all the time. And a big thank you to all of my supporters that I already have. Nikki, Lee, Brett, Shazeb, and Margaret. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I am so excited for the rest of the stuff I have planned for this year. I got a big October event that I'm already kind of working on, and God, I'm just so pumped. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, follow me on my socials, and all that jazz. And as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.